Welcome to the Lesbian Review podcast. I'm Sheena and I'm joined today by the fantastic Robin Alexander, author of over 24 books. That is a whole lot of books. Thank you for joining me today, Robin.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So your latest book is Kellen's Moment. Tell me about that.
I've been hooked on British television, and I was watching Midsummer Murders, and there was an episode about two families that have had a war between them for decades, or generations rather. And that's kind of where I got the idea. It's kind of like the Hatfields and the McCoys lesbian style.
Nice. And how's that doing in the sales department?
It's done very well. I've been very happy with the sales that I've gotten on it.
Fantastic. I'm very happy to hear that because you deserve lots and lots of sales. You are our book club read for June. So we're doing Just Jury and people are falling over themselves in love with the book and the audiobook.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that.
Talking about Just Jury, I know that a lot of people find that that's their favorite, but what do you find is your most popular book?
I think Just Jury is actually my most popular book.
You wrote that quite a while ago, though.
I did. And the funny thing about it, I wrote it, and when I got ready to release it, I was just having heart palpitations because I thought, this could flop. They're not going to get the humor. I might have missed the mark. And it made me so nervous. I released it, and then I went on a cruise, and I couldn't monitor the sales. And the whole time I was gone, I was just very nervous about it. And when I came home and saw what it had done, I was stunned. And it skyrocketed so fast, it just surpassed anything else I'd ever done. To date, it's still my bestseller.
That's amazing, though. There's just something about it that's just captured the audience, hey?
I guess so. And I'm thrilled.
Did you find that when it came out in audiobook that your sales peaked again?
They did. And I saw a lot of reviews about Lisa Cordeleon. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She's got a great voice, great talent, and she did a fantastic job.
Oh, she absolutely did. And Karen Wolfer, who produced it, is really into the quality of the production. So I think that helped as well.
She is. I adore Karen. I absolutely. We met a long time ago when she was first starting to get into audiobooks, and we got to talk extensively. And she's a great person. She's a great person, and she's very passionate about what she does.
Okay, so how have people reacted to your other audiobooks?
Quite well. I don't have a whole lot out yet, but I hope that will change soon. But they've reacted quite well. Still, Just Jory just beats everything else hands down.
Do you have any plans in the pipeline for more audiobooks?
I would love to get the majority of my library into audio. It's just it's a very time-intensive process, so it's slow going.
Absolutely, especially if you're doing everything, as opposed to just handing over the reins to like a company or something.
Karen Wolfer, she does my audiobooks. She takes care of everything, and she's just one woman. She's got a small company. I could go to hire someone else or try to go to through Audible and get things done faster, but she's a small company. She's working hard for what she does, and I would just prefer however long it takes Karen is going to be fine with me. In other words, I would prefer to stay with her. The quality and just her dedication is more important to me.
I get that, and I admire that. I think that's fantastic. And actually, that's one of the things that I really love and appreciate about the lesfic sector. Because it's such a small sector, there's a lot of personal connections and a lot of bonds and relationships that I don't think you get in the mainstream sector, really.
Yes. Yeah, it's a business. I mean, we can't deny it is a business. But at the same time, you're right. There are bonds and loyalties, and we stick together.
Okay, so what do you love most about writing?
The thrill of writing for me is to open up that blank screen and just turn my imagination loose. That is just, I don't write by an outline. I don't know how the story is going to end when I start. It's just sitting down at the keyboard with just maybe a very vague idea and just turning my imagination loose. That is just, when I'm writing, I am experiencing the story kind of like someone who's reading it. It just kind of unfolds for me as I write it. So it's an adventure in my imagination, I suppose.
How long does it take you to write a book?
Times vary. I wrote Just Jory, I think, in less than a month because I was so just locked in on it. I could see it in my mind. I'd lay down to go to sleep at night, I'd write notes because it just kept popping in my mind and I couldn't go to sleep. So that one came very fast. There are other times that my brain is just not online, and it could take months to write a book. So it varies.
Because a month is like really short for a non-plotted out writing stint. Even like 3 or 4 months is quite short because when I talk to authors, they will plot for like 3 months before they sit down and write, and then they'll take another 3 months to write that story. So you're a fast writer.
I have to do it quickly. My attention span is zero. My mind just wanders. I get into all kind of different things when I'm writing. I think of a billion different other story ideas while I'm writing something. So I have to force myself to write fast, because if I let something sit for too long, I just totally lose interest in that idea, and then I'll never get anything done. So I really, just to produce, I have to do it quickly. Just have to purge everything in my head at that moment.
Okay, that makes sense. What do you hate most about writing?
When I write, it's just, like I said, it's just an adventure in my imagination, and I'm just purging the story that I see unfolding in my mind like a movie. And after that's done, going back and cleaning everything up. I'm so intent on what I'm doing that I use words out of context. Dear. Instead of, oh, you're such a dear, it's DEER. My fingers and my brain just short circuit sometimes. And it's going back and finding all of that where I messed up. Names are just the bane of my existence. It is just first deciding on what to name a character. And then I'll use the wrong names for the characters. It's so annoying. But these are mistakes I commonly make. And going back and cleaning all of that up is that's the part I hate. But that's where the real work is.
Okay. And I take it you work with a good editor?
I do. I have a couple of editors. My primary is Tara Young. She has edited all of my books with the exception of the very first. She knows how my brain works. We've worked for so long together. She'll catch me if I've used phrasing in other books. I would never want to have to work without her.
You develop a shorthand.
Yes. It's a good way of putting it.
Who are your favorite lesfic authors?
I'm always hesitant to say because there are just so many, and I don't want to leave anyone out and hurt any feelings. I don't get to read very much anymore. My writing schedule is so tight. I'm constantly pushing myself to write, so I don't get to sit down and enjoy a good book like I used to. So I'm going to be mentioning older books when I say this. Karen Williams, she writes for Bella Books. She has 2 books that I absolutely love, Nightshade and Love Spell. They're just, when I read, I like something that's kind of left of center, just kind of different. And those were, and I really enjoyed those. I love Blaine Cooper. I love her humor. Cobb Island will always be one of my favorites. I love the two stories intertwined, the current day and in the past. Mavis Applewater's Whispering Pines is another favorite. For the same reason, and it's kind of got a ghostly aspect, and I like spooky things. So, it's so hard to say that I have a favorite author because there are just, you can see the books. I don't know if you can see the books behind me, but there's just a ton of them back there. There's just so many that I enjoy.
That's fantastic. None of those books have ever been recommended on my show before, so I'm glad you mentioned them. I'll put links to the books in the show notes for anybody who's interested.
Great.
So you write predominantly romantic comedy type novels, but then you went and wrote Devil in Disguise, which is a fantastic thriller, and I gobbled it up in like a day. I was so excited about this book. It was actually recommended to me by one of people in my book club when I was looking for something a little darker, because I can read romance, but I get to a level where I want something that shakes it up a little bit.
Yes, I get that.
So tell me about this book.
That is one of my much older books. I wanted to write something, kind of a mysterious thriller type thing. When I sat down to do that, I tried to think for my villain, everything that makes me uncomfortable. Someone who invades your personal space, that is willing to invade your life, and that creeps me out. That personality really creeps me out. So I focused on that when I started to write it, and then the rest of it just kind of filled out. Lately, the majority of what I've been doing is romantic comedies, because honestly, I just want to laugh. The news is just so depressing and disconcerting, and so romantic comedies for me are just an escape. A lot of the background or the stories of the world that these people live in is kind of like what I would like to see. Just everybody accepting everybody and acknowledging that differences are good and we don't all have to be the same or think the same. That's why I've been so drawn into romantic comedies lately. It's an escape.
They sell better too, though, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody else wants to laugh too.
This is true. Well, that was a really short interview, so tell me more stuff about you.
Okay, open-ended. Oh, what do I want y'all to know about me? Let me think. Well, I'm insane. That was a joke. That's seriously a joke.
What's something that people would find most surprising about you?
That I'm actually quite shy. I'm actually, I think when I've gone to like the GCLS conferences and things, I think that most people would think that I'm kind of standoffish or maybe snobbish. It's, small talk is kind of, it's awkward for me. It just doesn't come naturally. And, so if I know people, I'm very talkative. But if I don't know you that very well, I'm going to be kind of quiet and just observe you. And I think that's where people tend to think that I might be a little snobbish. It's just because my mind is racing like, what do I say? So, yeah, people may find that kind of surprising.
Okay. What's in the works now? What are you busy writing?
I have one in production right now. It's called Temporary Girl. It's my two main characters. They meet at a wedding. It's prior to the wedding, there's like a week-long party for the wedding party. And so these two women meet. One of them is at the point in her life where she's just ready to find the right one. And the other character, Jody, is she's the temporary girl. She has an issue with commitment, mainly just because she's afraid. She's got kind of a weird history, and so these two meet at this party, and it just kind of, I don't want to give too much away, but it just kind of goes from there, and well, they work things out. Just like all of my books do. Eventually work things out. It's the mine tend to be about the two characters working through their weirdness, and so basically that is it.
And when can we expect this one?
July, actually.
Oh, so we're that close.
Yes.
If listeners have never read any of your books, which one should they start with?
Oh, Just Story would be a good one to start with. The other one that I'm very fond of is The Trip. I think that one would be another good one to start with. Next Time or The Fall. I think those would be good books to start with. Maybe stay away from my older stuff where I was cutting my teeth.
How do you come up with your titles? Because your titles are all very unique.
I never know what the title is going to be until maybe halfway through the book or until it's finished. It has to come to me as I'm going with it. Like The Temporary Girl, as I was writing it, I thought, her best friend should nickname her this because of her reputation. And then I thought, Temporary Girl, title. They just pop into my head as I go.
Okay. What advice would you give to authors?
If you're just starting out, if writing is something that you want to do, and when I've been asked this question before, I will tell people, give yourself a maximum word count of 3,000 words and write a story from beginning to end within that limit. After you do that, go back, look at where you made your mistakes, find your strengths, have someone else read it, point out your weaknesses. That's something, that you can work on. I think that anybody that writes has to recognize that not everything they do is going to be accepted or loved. So you have to kind of develop a tough skin. We don't like every song that plays on the radio. We have our favorites. We have songs that annoy us to the point where we want to, scream. So, books are the same way. Not everybody feels the same way. Not everybody has the same interests. And you just have to understand that you're not going to please everyone. That's just not going to happen. And so you kind of have to put your feelings aside. What we write is kind of personal to us because so much of our personality is in it. And so when somebody bashes it, it's painful because you feel personally insulted. But that's something that goes with writing, and it's something that you have to accept.
Why 3,000 words? That's very short.
It is, and that's the thing. It's putting a limit. Taking a story from beginning, middle to end within that limit is not really easy to do. It's giving you kind of like a rigid guideline to work within and make that happen. And then after that, just expand on your word limit as you wish. But in those 3,000 words, it just gives a person, we kind of get lost sometimes when you first, at least for me, when I first started writing, I'd have a good story idea and I would start cranking on it. And then maybe 10,000 words in, I just kind of got lost. I just kind of didn't know where I wanted it to go. And I hadn't, I was so focused on trying to get everything right as I wrote, and it really stymied my creative process. Doing a 3,000 word limit, I think when you first start off, is just, it's tight. You're going to keep everything in perspective. You're going to keep the story moving, and you're going to work within that limit. And that's why I always tell everyone, just try that first. And again, just, someone you trust, someone who's not going to just tell you, oh, that was great because I love you, but say, hey, you elaborated on this one point way too long, and, there's not enough meat in here to carry the story. Someone that's going to be honest and tell you those things.
Okay. I can see the theory of this, and I can also see why, it would work. Because if you can tell a good story in 3,000 words, you're not going to have a flabby middle.
Right.
And you're going to work on the story arc and the character arc. And it's also quite quick and achievable. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah, you'll feel good once you complete that, and you can do it. And then you can move to something larger.
You have some free short stories on your website. So where can people find those?
It's robinalexanderbooks.com. And you brought that up and I kind of cringed because it's like, again, those are very old. That was when I was new to all of this and my new writing. So please don't judge me too harshly. I was learning. I'm still learning. It's a learning process.
I have no doubt that they're a lot better than you actually think that they are.
Well, thank you. You're very kind.
Okay, so that's your website, and then you're on social media?
Only on Facebook. Been asked several times, why aren't you on Twitter? Why aren't you doing it? And I don't go on Facebook very often. And the problem is I get on there, I start talking, I start hanging out, and I'm not working. And I write full time, but life for me intervenes quite a bit. I apparently have been nominated as the go-to girl in my family because I work from home. So if someone has an issue, I get that phone call. I have a daughter who is in the military, and in between her deployments, I try to go and see her as often as I can. So with social media, I just I don't get on there very often, and that is why I just have Facebook. Just because I know myself, I get distracted easily, and I'm going to go on there and play, and I'm not going to work.
I totally get that. Robin, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Sheena. I've been talking to Robin Alexander. This is the Lesbian Review Podcast. If you are a fan of this show, don't forget to rate us and subscribe. You can pick up the show and all the other shows on the channel on iTunes, Podbean, and Stitcher. There are links in the show notes to all sorts of cool things, including Robin Alexander books that we discussed today and the books that she recommends that you should read. Come and join us on Facebook at the Lesbian Talk Show chat group, and come and talk to all our podcasters there. That's all for this week. Bye.
Bye-bye.